Herb. Herb is a plant. I mean, herbs are good for everything. Herb.
Hi, that's hi as in H-I-G-H. Hi, you made it to the Eugene Cannabis TV show. You got DanK here, or Dan. You can call me whatever you want, just anything but late for din-din. So I wanted to start off today's show with the letter to the editor, the op-ed piece written by Brian Michaels. Brian Michaels is an attorney and also a member of the advisory committee in the state's medical marijuana program. He's also a quite prominent attorney here in Eugene and has done some great cases and had some great victories all over the state. Especially, he's a criminal lawyer and specializes in marijuana cases. So he wrote guest viewpoint. He wrote doctors, not DEA, should determine pot's medical benefits. By the way, this was published Registered Guard on May 13th. On April 20th, Dwight Holton, the United States Attorney for Oregon, said in an interview that Oregon's medical marijuana program is a train wreck. He wanted to question the need of so many Oregonians to use medical marijuana. Holton's remarks are at best irresponsible and at worst are a harbinger of danger for tens of thousands of Oregonians as the Obama administration drifts away from its earlier position of not prosecuting medical marijuana users. As a member of the advisory committee to the state's medical marijuana program, I can tell you that the program is highly efficient, overseeing the registration and distribution of cards to nearly 40,000 patients, their caregivers, and their growers. The population typically contributes $1 million annually to our state's general fund. Hardly a train wreck. Rather, its proficiency is a model of government effectiveness. I understand the U.S. Attorney's criticism stems from the number of patients. What he and other critics fail to recognize is that that is due not to the law, but to the fact that more and more doctors are recognizing the medical benefits their patients receive from medical marijuana. The criticism really lies not with our agency, but with our physicians. I doubt the U.S. Attorney would claim to be qualified to call our physicians a train wreck. Yet this is typical of the lashings out from law enforcement. For reasons I fail to comprehend, there is a rising tide of sentiment against medical marijuana within the law enforcement community. For some reason, our state's 12 years experience with medical marijuana has produced increased acceptance in the medical community, but increases rebellion from the law enforcement community. Over these 12 years, we have learned that the benefits of medical marijuana are demonstrable, while the problems associated with medical marijuana are negligible. Benefits include inexpensive health care for many, which is often a preferable form of care compared with many prescription drugs whose patients otherwise would be using. The stark increase in the number of physicians authorizing their patients to use medical marijuana is evidence of these benefits. 3,890 physicians with 39,774 patients, or approximately one physician for every 10 patients. At a time of serious health care discussions in this country, which with much of the debate centering on prescription drugs, here is a widely accepted means of improving health care while reducing costs. The only problems ever mentioned involve the numbers. Holton and the others say there are simply too many people using medical marijuana. If that were the case, we certainly would experience some symptoms. However, we see no increase in emergency room visits, no increase in addictive behavior, no increase in criminal activity, and no increase in abusive behavior from people using this medicine. All these symptoms are seen with prescription medications. Indeed, statistics tell us that prescription drug addiction and abuse are becoming an epidemic. In the end, other than succumbing to the wrath of law enforcement, there are no dangers from using medical marijuana. I always have felt that the better angels of our democracy are served when legislation is guided by science rather than by prejudice. Unfortunately, our emotional judgments tend to move our legislative endeavors. At each legislative session, including the current one, law enforcement undertakes a strong lobbying effort against our program, decrying only, as Holton does, the numbers of participating patients. The science underscoring this issue is politicized further when viewed through the efforts of the Federal Drug Enforcement Agency. Despite the many states that recognize medical marijuana, and despite the increasing number of physicians who recognize the benefits of medical marijuana, the DEA refuses to change marijuana's classification as a Schedule I controlled substance. A Schedule I controlled substance is one for which there is no approved legal use. And the DEA has determined that marijuana has no medical benefit. That's right. The DEA, a law enforcement agency, determines the medical efficacy of substances. As a Schedule I controlled substance, marijuana cannot be tested at a university or other research facility without the express permission of the DEA. The DEA will not allow marijuana to be formally scientifically studied to determine its medical benefits. That does not serve the better angels of our democracy. It is prejudice that dictates our legislation in this area. I appeal to Holton to look to our better angels of democracy for guidance and not to the dictates of our lower selves. So again, that was from Brian Michaels, attorney here in Eugene, very well spoken. Talks about the thing we've talked about here on the show quite a bit, law enforcement, attacking medical marijuana program. We have law enforcement not only lobbying, but actually law enforcement representatives, 3 of them that I know of, retired law enforcement officers that are actually attacking the OMA program and trying to correct the problems. And actually what it boils down to is they're just trying to find problems for their solutions is what it amounts to. So the battle goes on, and thanks to the Oregon voters, we now have the legislature in session every year. So instead of every other year having to fight these idiots, now we can look forward to fighting them every year. Thank you, Oregon voters. As an activist, I guess I could say I should say I appreciate the work. What's the word? Anyway, plenty of work to be done. And since we were here last, we had the Global Marijuana March that was on May 7th. That went quite well all over the state and as well as all over the world. We had it here in Eugene. It was in Medford, Salem, and Portland, and I understand possibly Corvallis. I heard something that there was going to be something in Corvallis. So it's definitely spreading around, and it's just a march for the freedom of cannabis and the plant in general. This is from Amsterdam to Ackland, from Anchorage to Albuquerque, from one end of the country and the planet to the other. The worldwide glamorous cannabis nation took to the streets Saturday for the 2011 Global Marijuana March. At the same time in Mexico, marchers trekked to Mexican City and gathered to other Mexican cities as well to plead for an end to the drug war violence that's killed more than 37,000 people in the past 4 years. So again, we keep calling out for the sanity. I'd like to say we're making 3 steps forward and 2 back, but we are making progress. It's just a lot slower than what it seems like it ought to be. Back into drug testing again, we have 2 states that are right up the front leaders on this, and surprise, Missouri is one of them. Missouri welfare drug test heads for the governor's desk. He says, a welfare drug testing bill has passed on to the Missouri legislature and is headed for the governor's desk. This one requires reasonable suspicion. A Missouri bill that mandates the drug testing of welfare recipients and applicants if caseworkers have reasonable suspicion they are using illegal drugs has passed out of the legislature and is now headed for the governor's desk. It passed the House Tuesday on a vote of 113 to 34. It had passed the Senate last month. We talked about this in previous shows. Since failure to take or pass a drug test would make the applicant ineligible for benefits for 2 years, but people who fail the test could enroll in a drug treatment program. And I'd be willing to bet you that they want you to pay for that too. The benefits could continue during treatment. If the person continues treatment and doesn't test positive, the benefits would continue. A second positive drug test would make the person ineligible for benefits for 2 years with no provision for a treatment escape clause. Family members of someone declared ineligible because of drug use could continue to receive benefits through a third-party payee. But this is the part that really caught my eye. A Democrat says that analysts in Missouri estimate the program would cost up to $2.3 million. So in this time of tight money, there's a way to, lack of money, they manage to find ways to spend it and to waste it even more. And so here we are now we move on to Florida. Florida legislature passes the welfare drug test bill. This is dated May 6th. Florida is about to become the first state to impose suspicionless drug testing on welfare recipients. And then it will likely spend a lot of taxpayer money on a probably futile attempt to defend its constitutionality. A bill requiring Florida welfare recipients to undergo drug tests passed the Senate last Thursday. A similar measure has already passed the House. The bill is supported by Governor Rick Scott, Republican, surprise, who is expected to sign it into law shortly. It's fair to taxpayers, Scott said after the vote. They're paying the bill, and they're often drug screened for their jobs. On top of that, it's good for families. It creates another reason why people will think again before using drugs, which, as you know, is just a significant issue in our state. That's great. They're often drug screened for their jobs. Yeah, the drug screeners, of course, the politicians aren't, but that's another story. Scott has already signed an executive order mandating drug tests for state workers. But Republican senators this week fended off bipartisan amendments that would have imposed drug tests for anyone working for a company that receives public funds and school children in the Bright Futures program. These amendments were designed to sabotage the bill by spreading the net uncomfortably wide. If Scott signs the bill into law, it will almost certain to face a constitutional challenge, and the challengers would have a strong case. The only other state to pass a suspicionless drug testing bill for welfare recipients, Michigan, saw its law thrown out by a federal appeals court in 2003. As an unconstitutional violation of the Fourth Amendment protection against warrantless searches. Arizona has a welfare drug testing law, but the law requires probable cause before a drug test can be demanded. So as more and more states, more and more states get this, and then they point to other states saying, well, we need it because, look, they're doing it. And so, unfortunately, it's kind of like a dominoes thing, it looks like, because it's like there's going to be more and more states. So hopefully the constitutional argument will beat that back. One of the most egregious laws I've heard of is, I believe it's North Dakota. They have a law on the books that's possession by consumption. If you get tested and come up positive for an illegal drug, you could be charged with possession of that drug. So welcome to the land of the free, folks.
And now a message from the American Marijuana Growers Association.
Hi, I'm a farmer, and I work hard every day to grow high-quality marijuana, the biggest cash crop in these United States. I'd like to thank you for your support of U.S. marijuana policy. Because marijuana is illegal, I don't have to pay taxes. Even better, prohibition leads to artificially inflated prices, which means a better quality of life for me and my family, as long as I don't get caught. Just as importantly, your tax dollars support thousands of U.S. agents who work tirelessly to keep low-grade, foreign marijuana out of our country. So thank you, America. And remember, whether you're nauseated from chemotherapy or just in the mood for a nice cool buzz, choose the best pot in the world, American homegrown.
Montana medical marijuana industry fights back. The newly formed Montana Cannabis Industry Association has announced that it is moving forward on two fronts. It has hired an attorney to seek a temporary injunction blocking the law from going into effect, and it has begun a signature gathering campaign to put the issue directly to the voters on the November 2012 ballot. We are moving forward on the injunction and the referendum, MCIA board member Kate Childa told the Chronicle. The injunction challenges the law. That's one prong. The other prong is the signature gathering campaign. If we are successful in gathering these signatures, that would keep the law from going into effect and we would be on the ballot in 2012. Governor Brian Schweitzer, Democrat, vetoed an outright repeal bill passed by the Republican legislature, but he has said that while he finds the second bill unpalatable, he will allow it to become a law without his signature. Activists find little hope that Schweitzer can be persuaded to change his mind before his 10-day period to act ends on Friday. This is not something we expected to happen, said Cholila. You can't say the door is closed until Friday, but the political environment around here is such that it's unlikely. Montana voters approved medical marijuana in a 2004 referendum, and the issue was relatively non-controversial until the Obama Justice Department released its October 2009 memo saying that going after people in compliance with state law in states where it is legal was not a high priority. After that, the medical marijuana scene exploded, and the number of patients shooting from 2,000 to 30,000 in the now familiar medical marijuana landscape of dispensaries, grow ops, and supply shops expanding rapidly. So a lot of turmoil in Montana, and there are moves, they're trying to repeal it, but we've got some good activists there that are fighting back, so it's just a constant push and shove. And then we have Colorado. Language that would have created a per se drugged driving law in Colorado was briefly reinserted in a bill Friday, but then the bill was killed Monday. Like a vampire rising from the grave, the effort to impose a per se drugged driving law on Colorado motorists came back to life on Friday, only to have a stake driven through in the heart Monday. I'm repeating this thing, but anyway. So anyway, at least they killed it. So again, these states, I don't know why these legislatures, they seem to be bent on making more criminals out of all of us. I just wish the public could see that. But anyway, the fight goes on, and our own Oregon legislature is continuing trying to dismantle, or not really dismantle, but hamstring, so to speak, or cripple our Oregon medical marijuana program. So we're still fighting in the legislature, and until the legislature is over for the year, we won't be safe. Though I'd like to say anytime the legislature is in session, no one is safe. So thanks for being with me. I enjoyed being with you, so we're passing on the word as often as we can. And remember to never consent to a search. You got Dan, you got DanK. We're out of here, thanks.
Hey folks, thank you all for coming to the March We've got one more speaker for you to listen to.
Is it Dad? Dawn.
This is Dawn from Washington State. If you're here and you're a resident of Washington, come and sign Sensible Washington. Soon we'll have our own Sensible Oregon, and you can sign that petition too. Come on up here, Dawn. Sensible Washington.
Hey!
Yeah, let's hear it for Washington State.
Thank you, Madeline, Oregon.
Madeline.
I'm Don Skacke, and I'm here to legalize cannabis. Thank you all for coming. I want you to know that up in Washington State, right across that river, I've got a group of individuals in Vancouver that are carrying our initiative 1149. We are going to remove the penalties from state law for cannabis use, possession, cultivation, transport. It will be effectively legal, and the federal government will be left to enforce the law on their own. We are looking for volunteers just as Oregon is looking for volunteers. Don't forget, it's not enough to just sign a petition. Do what Madeline says. Find out who your legislators are, write them an email, better yet, write them a letter, better yet, go into their offices and meet them, and you tell them what you want the law to look like. If our voices aren't heard, the voices of other special interests that don't have our interests will prevail, and we'll end up with bad law. You know, we have a senator up in Washington State right now that has put a lot of effort and heart and soul into trying to fix our medical marijuana law up there. And it went really well, right to the point when it got to the governor's office. And our governor up there, she says, well, I can't go against the federal government. I was elected to support and represent the people of Washington State, but Big Brother's watching me. And that's just wrong. And what she did was she gutted that bill. All the patient protections, arrest protection, you know, the ability to grow together, the ability to have a dispensary and get a safe access for real medicine, that's all been taken apart. Senator Jean Caldwell, bless her heart, she's got another follow-up bill coming after that. We hope that doesn't get vetoed as well. But it doesn't matter, because when we get enough signatures to get 1149 on the ballot, in November, the people of Washington will have their voice. They will say yes or no. They won't be told, they will be telling. So make sure you get active. Become a volunteer in Oregon. Please carry the petition. Please get signatures. Please get that on the ballot. And if you know anybody in Washington State, tell them about sensiblewashington.org. Tell them about Initiative 1149, and let's legalize. Let's be first. Let's have a race. Will it be Washington or Oregon first? I hope it's us, but if it's you guys, I'll be here happy. Thanks so much for coming out today. Thanks for all your support, and legalize cannabis for all adults.
Hey folks, thank you all for coming to this march and making it happen. If you like what we're doing, call the city and thank them for their support. Thank the Portland Police Bureau for helping us along. And thank you most of all for coming out in the rain to march for freedom. And don't forget, Cannabis Cafe. You want to experience real freedom? Come on. If you have an OMMP card, if you are a card holder, that's pretty inclusive, and you have a state ID or driver's license, you can even bring your passport, and we're going to let you in. So come on down. Today it is only $5 to get into the Cannabis Cafe, regardless of your sponsorship. We just want to support all of you. And we want you, please, help us. Education. Help us. Please vote for the Portland School Levy. Support education. Let's end incarceration of cannabis consumers. Let's educate, not incarcerate. Are you all with me? Yeah! All right, that's what I'm talking about, folks. Well, our time here is done. We are wrapping up. I'd like you all to pick up your trash. If you have trash out there, be sure and pick it up. We're loading our signs now. If you used one of our signs, we'd like it back. Thank you all so very much for coming. We appreciate your time, all of our fine performers. These Edges, you rock! Big Dub and J-Mac are gone, but they rock too. As Scott said, when is Conway West talked about legalizing? Support J-Mac and Big Dub. Yeah. Hey, Hawk, thanks for being here and helping us out. Anna, thank you. Scott Gordon. All the board of Oregon Normal, to our square staff, thank you so much. Don't forget to pick up your trash. Thank you.
For those of you that would like information about the cafe, we have pamphlets up here available to you. It explains why the cafe was open and why it still exists today under the conditions in which it runs. Also police the area directly around you, even if it's not your trash. Let's leave this place cleaner than it was when we walked in, and have them say to us that we want you back.
And remember, get off the bong and get out there and vote. You cannot change the laws if you don't vote. So put it down and get out and vote.
And lastly, in front of the small group, I would like to personally thank Madeline Martinez for her tireless efforts to end cannabis prohibition here in Oregon. And thank you for leading us and just stay. I love you. I love you too, and I love all of you for having the courage of your conviction and standing here in front of everyone and claiming to be cannabis consumers. Because you know what? It's not easy. They say we are paranoid. 859,000 of us were arrested. We have a good damn reason to be paranoid. Take care of your children. Be law-abiding citizens and continue to support the end of cannabis prohibition. Thank you all. Yeah, let's all come out for cannabis. We're going to do a multi-state effort. We're not going to have to pay for any media. We're going to take Washington,